So you're taking the whole gun apart, and now I'm going to show you how to put it back together. The first thing that goes back in is the mag release, and this gun is cool because you can put it either way, so you can make this a left-handed shooter real easy. Inside the mag release there's this little spring which I've cut to make it a little lighter, and this little plunger here. You push that in like that, and you can see how this sits like that. And this is the trigger bar plunger, which actually in the frame sits like this. So we want to put it back together like that inside the gun. So how you do that is, first you put the mag release back in like this. You need to use a pin punch, and you actually put, you can see here, you put this flush with the frame. Take this, put it back in there like that. I just put it back in so I know where it's hitting the spring, and then make sure it's flush. Push this in hard here and push with my finger till I get it in, and you can feel if this feels correct, which it is, then it's good to go. And this thing, as you can see, it's going to be facing this way here, forward, and this is where the trigger bar here rides on top of it. So actually, if you're doing trigger jobs, typically this surface can be polished, and the top of this part can be polished, the plunger. But this thing can be quite a pain to get back in. Here's the trigger spring, and I put this in first, and the easiest way to put this together is actually using a slave pin. And if you don't have one, brake cleaner, the little tip on that is excellent for it. So what you can do, you can just take and cut off about this much, like that, and this piece will fit in there perfectly. Make sure it goes through the spring, I'm going to use another one I made earlier. It's also good sometimes to make sure you don't have any sharp edges on it. So let me a little stone here. Like that. Holds the spring in. And you can see it just is flush on both ends. Right here. Now you put this bar back in like that, and what you do, make sure this little spring here is going to sit in this whatever you call that thing in there in the frame. And then, so now what I do is I pull the trigger in a little bit, push it down, and it just kind of is a feel thing here. There we go, so it feels right. You can see it's like almost flush there, but kind of like where a trigger is supposed to be. And I kind of use my finger like this, and this like that, and I tap this until I feel it's going to start entering. There it is. I haven't tapped it very hard, so now it's actually entering the hole. See, I keep it loose. You can hear it going through in there, so the slave pin came out. And then for the final part, you use the pin punch, and I tapped it in to it's flush with the frame, like that. And then we just check, make sure everything looks good, and it does. Then we have to put in our hammer. So take the hammer spring, put it in, and this can be replaced with a lighter hammer spring from Wolf. Put the hammer in using the strut, and I push in the hammer pin, and see I got it halfway in there. What I do is I hold it back, make sure I get it in and through all the way, because it's got to come through on the other side. I use my thumb to push it in. At some point I got it in right, final part in, and then we got to do some hammer pin, push that in, push it all the way down, and this is actually held in by the sear assembly, who locks it in so it can't fall out. Now I took all this thing apart too, so let's put it back together. First thing you do, put the sear in, put the sear pin in halfway. I use my thumb like this, make sure this doesn't come through very far. And this is also can be a little tricky to get back in, but spring sits like this. This can take me a while sometimes, so there we go, and I push with my finger. Hopefully I'm lucky. I'm pretty lucky. There it goes. If you have a new spring, it'd be much tighter, it'd be a lot harder to get in. Now before I put it back in, I'm going to take and push this little spring up here so it's out of the way. Push it back in. As you can see, I use my pull the trigger and the hammer back a little bit. Makes it easier. Put this whole sear assembly back in, and then I put the safety in here. There you go. Push the sear spring in like that. Put this in here. Tap it. Goes in nicely. That's the frame. As you can see, the easy way to clean it is just use brake cleaner and spray it all out, and that's all you need to do. So unless you have to modify the parts or do something to the gun, there's no need to take the gun apart more than just as the frame is, and just spray it out, brake cleaner, and just use some light oil. And what I do is I put oil on the bar, the trigger bar, so that it has some sort of oil there between the metal parts. If they're polished well, hardly needs anything. I put a little bit on the plunger, so the trigger bar and the plunger has a little bit of oil there. And you can also use either some oil or some slide glide on top here on the sides, because the barrel's going to ride there. So now, frame's good to go. Put the upper back on it, and then slide stop. There you go.